Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Cory Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and we've talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you better foresight.
And now we're bringing you those same great interviews along with other mindset hacks, visibility hacks, and traffic hacks, and more to get you all the tools you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And of course, gain more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to get all the free resources to help you get more.
And so, without further ado, let's get to it. All right. What is going on, everyone? And today we have a very special Cory in the house. I know it's not me. Dr. Cory Campbell is here, and she is the creator of FBI. No, not the FBI that you might think, but Freedom Boss Institute, a course designed to help students get step-by-step in creating their own six-figure movement. Cory, I am so excited to jump in here and have a chat with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I am so excited to be here as well and share some golden nuggets with your audience and just chat and have some fun.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. But I do feel outnumbered that there's multiple Corys on the show. How come we don't have more Rons on the show? That's what I want to know.
Not happening.
All right. Well, Cory, we know who you are, but why don't you take a moment to kind of tell our audience who you are?
Absolutely. So I'd love to. My background is I have my doctorate in physical therapy. So people out in the field, they call me like Dr. Cory. So that sets me apart from the other Corys because there's lots of awesome Corys out there. You're going to stand that out. And I would work in the grind, climbing that corporate ladder, thinking that that's what I wanted. Had that corner office and all the stress that went with it, and no time for me, no time for my family and the things that just bring me joy and make me happy. So I met and fell in love with an amazing military man. And with that, it made me shift, thinking like, what's my priorities? Where do I want to spend my time? What can I do for me? So that's what put me on this mission to build a business that could go with us anywhere we had to move. And lots of struggles, lots and lots of struggles, totally honest here. Spent time, spent money, wasted a lot of time and money. And what I have put together, so what the Freedom Boss Institute is the streamlined effect of getting from point A to your paradise island so you can build the systems that actually make a difference in your life and your business, always looking at, we want time freedom so we can do the things that really make us happy.
Yeah, I love about the first time we had a conversation, and even in, the information I see, you're all about that joy, right? What brings you joy? And at the end of the day, there's
something else I can help with?
Someone's talking to me. At the end of the day, Siri wanted to join in there. But at the end of the day, it's crazy how all of us, we could work.
I'm not sure I understand.
And we could have fun. we could all work and we could have fun, and we could still have joy in it. Like, what for being able to move, but kind of what you do.
Well, to go along with Siri wanting to understand, she just doesn't understand. Like, here's the thing, is joy, if you look joy up in the dictionary, joy is with great happiness, like extreme happiness. And we can go through life and work and struggle. And what is it that we're actually chasing after? We want the money so we don't have the bills to pay, but we're working and we're not spending time with our family. So what is the most important thing? For everybody, it's different, right? For myself, my family it's my husband and our two dogs and all of the things that we like to do with our time. Time is the only resource you're never, ever going to get back. And I was working like 80, 90 hours a week in this corporate job, making really good money, but I couldn't do anything with it. So it's like, where is the joy that's in life? So then you go on this mission to find out, why are we here on this planet? For our little sliver of time that we have, what are we going to do with that time? And part of that is not just to impact the world and leave a legacy behind us that people are going to remember us by, or we're going to create something that's going to grow as we're gone. But what are we going to do with that time? Right? Where are we spending that time? And that, I feel, is the most important thing that a lot of people, and I know with me, when I get into entrepreneurship, my husband asked me, I thought you started this so you didn't have to work as much. And I was like, yes, you're right, but I can't figure out how to do it. So that's what I was this mission of figure out how to automate a lot of things, outsource a lot of things, and really stream like, what's my superpower and how can I bring that to the world?
Absolutely. I think I just was having this conversation with someone the other day. I didn't necessarily start this journey for money. I did it for time freedom, right? So even if, because I commuted an hour and a half one way to work. So even if I worked the same amount of hours, I got back 3 hours of my day.
Yeah.
Right. And I think so many people don't understand why they do what they do. But I love the idea that not only did you understand it, but you realized, hey, now I'm working more than I was probably working before. I don't have a commute, but now what? Now what do I do? And you're looking to automate. So I would love to kind of hear about that piece of what you're doing in the automation world there.
So all little types of things. So I narrow it down. There's a kind of a framework that I follow to figure out like what's your superpower. And in the FBI, the Freedom Boss Institute, we have this foundation that the primary superpower of a freedom boss is to create an offer that converts. Because when you're creating an offer, you're doing two things. You're creating impact in the marketplace and you're creating impact in your bank account. Right? And with those two things, you can open up, you can afford automation tools, you can afford to hire team members and expand, and you can also afford your time. So those are the things that I look at. Now, we as a society, I feel that we are brainwashed, I guess is the best word, with what our value is for time. So I remember my first job, I worked as a clerk at a drugstore, and it was $4.10 an hour was what I made at my first job. So that's their value that they thought my hour was. So we're brainwashed into that. I was 15 years old. Throughout our whole entire life, what's your dollar hourly rate value? And that's such a horrible concept to have with that, especially for people who are trying to figure out time freedom. Right? So what's my value for my time? So it's a very simple equation, and I walk people through this. So it's like, what do you want to make a year? Not what you currently making, but what do you want to make a year? So if that's 6 figures, maybe it's 100 grand. You take whatever that is, divide it by 48, because freedom bosses, we don't work 52 weeks a year. We work 48. Right? So
I like that. Cory, did you hear that? I should get a week off.
you get Thanksgiving off.
Oh, that's right.
That's it.
Yeah. So we work 48 weeks a year. And then whatever hours you want to work, not what you can work or what you want to squeeze in. I did not want to work 80, 90 hours a week anymore. Right? I also didn't really want to work 40 hours a week. I wanted to be able to have more time to volunteer. I wanted to have more time to work with people who are building not-for-profits and doing philanthropy work. So I really balanced it that. So whatever your hours is, and figure out your dollar rate, like your value. And when it comes to that, anything that you're doing that is not giving you that return financially on your hour, it needs to go.
Love it.
It absolutely needs to go. So if your hourly rate comes out to be, I don't know, $267, just pick that number out of my head. I have no idea what that works out to be because math is hard. So $267. If you go to Starbucks and you buy your $8 fancy latte and you sit there for an hour just passively scrolling through your social media, that $8 coffee hasn't just cost you $8. It's now cost you $267 plus $8.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
So how did you get there, right? Like, obviously, let's talk about a little bit of those challenges that you faced before the FBI was born, before you knew that you truly needed to calculate your hourly value rate, that you truly knew that you needed to cut out the things that weren't there. Like, walk us through a little bit of how you got there and some of those challenges that you were facing.
So it was, 2 stages, I'll tell you. So one is a story, and it was while I was working my corporate job and I was building my business on the side. So in my little bit of spare time, staying up late, working on weekends and building a business on the side. And my husband and I, we took a vacation and we went out of the country, quote unquote. We went to Puerto Rico, but it was out of the country far enough away to where work could not contact me. And that was the first time that healthcare corporate level position could not reach me. And we were sitting on a beach in Puerto Rico watching the sunset. We had picked up a 6-pack of beer at the local 7-Eleven and we're hanging out there watching the sunset, and I could breathe. And it was in that moment that I said, honey, I know you believe in me, and I know I'm working extra hours, but this right here, this moment, like, gives me goosebumps thinking about it now. So I need more of that in my life. So it was in that moment that I said, I need to figure out a way to do this in my very limited time, because financially we needed the money. He's military, like, they don't get paid a lot of money. So we needed the money, but I needed to figure out a way that I could do it strategically where I wasn't wasting time, but I was making progress and I could impact people faster. So we got back from that trip, and that's exactly, I got pen and paper and I just started writing, okay, what am I really good at? What do I really suck at? And I narrowed it down to 3 categories. There's mindset, skill set, and tool set. And I needed to work on a lot of mindset stuff because I was in this imposter syndrome. Like, I totally was out of my realm. I was entering to the internet and I didn't understand internet world. So I had to get over my own self and my own limiting beliefs. So there's mindset. And then there's, okay, skill set. What things and skills do I need to learn, or can I learn? So a lot of that was, talking on camera, having a sales pitch. What's the sales cycle? How do I lead someone to a sale because I'm changing their life? And then there's tool sets. So a lot of that was, okay, how do I build up my funnel? What is a funnel? And how do I connect the funnel to the email? And there's things that I could learn. And then in the beginning, I had to bootstrap everything because I had very limited resources. But as I got stronger in figuring out what was my needed superpower, which is connecting to the people, creating an offer, and making a sale. And that's what the Freedom Boss is. And I could do that. And then I started outsourcing all the other things.
I love the hourly rate calculation. So Cory and I are going to have a conversation about pay probably after. just playing. But the other piece that I loved is you actually experienced what you were trying to recreate. That freedom. You were out of the country. I mean, I've been in the exact same situation where I was tethered to my phone or, the workplace, and I went on vacation and I couldn't use the tether, and I freaked out a little bit because I wasn't comfortable leaving when I left. Right. So I'm excited that you actually went there, felt that, came back with that, because if I would have done that, I would have started this journey 11 years ago. Yeah. And I think that's important for people to understand, but for you to actually live it, you understand what you're going for. So I think that would make it even that much stronger to create everything you need to create to automate to get you to where you're going.
When you have a really clear vision on so having that little experience, it lit a serious fire within me that I don't just wish that would happen. I was going to make it happen because I wanted more of those moments. And it was probably about 1.5 years or 2 years after that, my husband got back from a deployment, and I was still working it was a different job. I actually stepped down and went to just a base pay physical therapy job so I could spend more time building out my business. And he went on this long deployment. And he came back, I think had been gone for 8 months. And I told my boss that I wanted the day off of work so I could go pick him up at the airport. And I wanted the next day off so we could spend the day together. I haven't seen him in 8 months. And she told me no.
Really?
Did you walk right there?
Yeah, I would have
He
said.
told me no. And it was over the phone because she's my boss, but she's just in a different city. And I was like, and my employees came in. I was like supervising like 20 different employees. A couple of them came in. I was like, what? Like, he comes home tomorrow and she won't give me a day and a half because I could have come in the morning, a day and a half off of work. And I was done. So I called in sick.
Of course.
Of course.
It looked like you were getting sick right after you hung up that phone.
Totally getting sick.
I wasn't even there, but I can tell. I can write right now.
When I came back into work and I got written up. But when I came back into work, I had my resignation notice.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't I kind of had a safety net, but I didn't have my income replaced to totally feel like I was safe. So there was a lot of fear within me to be able to do that. But it's like, this is the wrong thing to do. This is not how I want to live my life. And after I turned in that notice, she says, all right, we won't be needing you anymore. Your notice is effective today. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
Packed up my stuff and left. But it was those types of scenarios. Like, I worked in healthcare. It wasn't a healthy situation to be in. And it was the scariest moment in my life to pack up that office and that box and walk out that door to like, is this really going to work? And then a few months later after that, he comes home from another trip and says, hey, let's just go on a vacation. Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can totally do this because I've built up this business. I can still work. I can work on the road. I can work on my phone, and I can work a little bit in the morning when he's still sleeping. And then we can get up and go have the whole day together. And that, like, we climbed a mountain. We went to Hawaii. We climbed up this mountain. I wanted to watch the sunrise. Crazy. And it's really dark at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning before the sun rises in Hawaii. And we couldn't find the trail. So he's like, I'm going to help you see this sunrise. We climbed this mountain. We have no idea. Really glad that there's no predatory animals on Hawaii.
Right.
I don't know what we were getting ourselves into. We make it up to the top of the mountain just in time to watch the sun cross over the Pacific Ocean. It was the most beautiful feeling in the world. And that is where the Freedom Boss Institute, like the name, came from, because I said, this is what freedom feels like. And the word boss means the master. So it's like, I am the master of my own freedom. And I want to give this to more people. I want more people to have this motion. After the sunrise, we hung out there for a while. Then we found the trail, which was, I don't know, like 3 feet over from where we were. We looked at what we had just climbed, and I said, had we done that during daytime, I would not have gone up this mountain.
That's so funny. Can anybody drop a mic on that?
I know, no
right
kidding.
there? It's so funny. You know, Ron and I, we went to the same thing, corporate ladder, and all the different reasons that you would want to leave that. But I remember for me, my wife, she's been working from home and for years. I mean, she has a regular job, but she has complete flexibility. And she would go work from anywhere. And I'm always like, oh, I want to work from the pool. I want to work from the beach. I want to work from wherever I want to work from. But I've always been tied, right? And so, you know, Ron and I were doing the same thing, like trying to build stuff on the side. And you work your regular job, and then you work the side hustle, so to speak, and you put in all this extra time. And it's like, you can't actually make that jump, though, until you walk away, right? Like, you can't truly replace and improve upon that income until you are all in. And it was no truer than it for Ron and I as well. Like, it took me, and then, you know, after that, him leaving those jobs to get to that freedom. So I absolutely embody and love everything that you stand for and are all about. And so thank you for sharing. But I want to ask one question, because I'm curious to see your answer, but I asked this to everybody about hindsight. We all know hindsight's 20/20. So if you could go back and give yourself advice, go back in time and give yourself advice, knowing what you know now, when would you go back and what advice would you give?
So I'm going to answer that with 2 answers. because there's 2 points. One is you brought up a really good point that I would have never replaced my income had I left, because I was giving time to somebody else and I couldn't have dedicated that to my customers. So one would have been to leave that job, like cut that cord sooner than I did, probably a year sooner than I did, and go all in because I believed in it. I didn't fully believe in myself yet, but it's totally going to come. But leave that first. So once you know and get totally solid on what that vision is, I would have should have left that job sooner. I don't regret it because it's part of my journey, but that would be one piece of advice. And the other is when I did leave, and then I was spending time reading books and listening to podcasts and learning, I waited months before I took action. And looking back on it now, it's like, I take action on day one, do a video, show up, find your voice. You'll figure it out along the way. And everyone's going to be growing with you. And some people will come, some people will leave. But it was probably about 5 months before I started because I felt I had to learn. So those would be the 2 pieces of advice.
Oh my gosh. Those are both really, really good. I love hearing, I like just saying FBI on our show because I don't think everybody wants to say FBI on our show. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now and what's in the world next for you.
So what I do now is the Freedom Boss Institute. I do coaching. Freedom Boss Institute, it's a course so they can do it yourself. I run through the course. It's the step-by-step framework, creating offers that you can put out into the world and convert, start making an impact and making income. And then I have group coaching and one-on-one coaching for people who are at the different levels, and walking through group or one-on-one. We dive deep into what is it, your business, what's your vision, what do we need to put together and put the systems together, always focusing on making sure that you have time freedom to do what it is that you want to do yourself that brings you joy. Right? Because when you're joyous and you're happy and you're excited, you're an amazing person. And the world needs more of that. So that's what I'm doing. And growth for me, as far as the next step, I'm working on some really cool things for those who are in my group coaching and my one-on-one, putting together a massive, just all-in-one, all the trainings where you can just go in and binge watch all the trainings you need with taking action. There's always a workbook. There's always an action step.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, Ron and I, we were in the same place. Like, we were learners. I mean, we had this conversation with someone else today about being a learner for too long, right? Like, just learn, but there's no action. So any programs out there that you don't have somebody pushing you to take action, they're a waste of time, right? You need people to surround yourself with people that push you to take the action that's necessary. And so to those people that were like us, that are in that moment of just learning, like, how do you get them to take that first step? Because once you take the first step, it's usually pretty easy to start, but starting that rock up that hill is usually a little tougher.
Well, it is. And there's this really awkward saying that I personally don't like, but it's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's like one bite at a time. I don't like saying that because I don't ever want to eat an elephant, but it is what it is. I guess you could visualize it. But so what I do is, yes, it's taking action, but it's not this massive action. It's daily, consistent action. So I have an action planner, and with the action planner, it's like you're narrowing it down to 3 things, 3 small key things that you're going to do that day and moving it forward. And in my group coaching, as we talk about, there's 1 daily action step. 7 days a week, there's 1 daily thing that you're doing. And we focus on 6 areas. So it's not just, I call it your enterprise. It's not just your business. Yes, that's a key piece, but we're looking at the whole person. Right? For you to have a freedom life and go out and do things that bring you joy, there's other aspects. So we're looking at all 6 of those, and with that small daily action, moving you forward.
No, I think as Cory was talking, yeah, he's right. We cut out things that just was noise. and until you come to that realization that maybe that person's not exactly helping you take the action, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to let it go. And that was something that we just had to say, okay, I remember we had this meeting and we're like, what's the voices we want to listen to? Who are the voices that are going to help us? And then let's just run as fast as possible, because at that point this was the income stream. Right? So you treat your entrepreneurial journey a little differently when it is the income stream, right? And that we wanted to keep it fun and light and never do it for money, but actually do it for the time piece. And we've been blessed to be able to do that. But I'm gonna ask you a couple questions around your time calculator and how it's working for you specifically, because I know it's easy to coach people to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder a little bit to follow it yourself. So how is it doing for you? Have you really took it and said, this is what I'm doing and I'm working it and I'm proof of it and you're comfortable with it? How's it going?
Absolutely. So anything that I talk about is something that I do and I implement. And that time calculator was a time shift calculator for me. So I carried that around with me, whatever it was. And this was 3.5 years ago when I did it for the very first time. And I wrote down whatever that number was and I carried it with me. And every single time that I'd catch myself, because it's all habits that we have. So I'd catch myself just scrolling through Instagram and just looking at the pretty pictures. And I'm like, oh man, however long have I been here? Oh, it's been 15 minutes. And then I figured out, well, I just wasted X amount of dollars.
Ouch.
And I was like, oh, that stings. That stings really bad. And yes, it's not just about the money, but I look at it this way is the freedom bosses were good people. And when you have good people making a lot of money, great things happen in the world. Because those people go out and they start non-for-profits. They donate tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars to organizations to make a difference. They have time, so they can go and donate their time. Over the past just under 3 years, I've donated 4,000 hours to a military organization, building programs for suicide prevention and professional spouse support. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't calculating where my time was going.
Awesome.
And that is so amazing, by the way, that you're doing that. So much praise for A, anybody on the military, but B, anybody that supports them in that way is pretty amazing. And the time freedom that you get when you are in control is just crazy. But you got to be conscious of it, right? And that's what you've done. You've helped people be conscious of it. Ron and I have made this switch, but there's days when it's like, oh, well, there's 12 hours gone. We just blinked and there's 12 hours we just worked, right? And so we had to take that stance. And like, Ron, my schedule doesn't start till 9:30, right? Like I'm doing my stuff, hanging out with my family, working out, that kind of stuff before 9:30. We don't get on the phone, with the exception of one day a week before 9:30. And that's like part of the time thing. And so I love it. All right, next question. We know that you have a coach that you follow. Like, walk us through your mindset when it comes to who you listen to. What voices are in your head? Who do you have as a coach? Like, walk us through that for you, and who have you been listening to, and why?
So, I love what Ron said earlier about, there's a lot of great coaches out there.
Nobody loved what Ron said.
Yeah, I have this recorded.
This one piece was really good.
I like this Cory better sometimes.
You have to turn down the noise, and it's not that it's a bad thing, right? Because there's a lot of really good mentors out there. They've got some great strategies, but it's within you and within what you want for your business. What is it that you want? And get super crazy clear on what that is. And when you're clear on what it is that you want, then it's going to make it easier to pick who you're listening to. So I have had an unsurmountable number of coaches and mentors over the past few years at different stages. So, Russell Brunson, because I needed to learn about funnels. at the time. So I just dove deep into listening to every single thing. I've got all of his books. I was reading all his books, doing all Russell Brunson. Like he says it, I had to go do it. So
Right.
doing those things at different stages. And then, right now I'm working with Catherine Jones because stories is a really integral part of connecting with people. My background, it's kind of black and white when you go to healthcare. You go to PT school. So it's this or it's that. And it's like strategy. I'm all about the strategy. But I'm missing a lot of people who need to connect with the stories. So I strategically sought out and connected with Catherine. So she's a great storyteller to learn how to pull in those pieces. And you'll pick up different people along the way. I've picked up I really wanted to get into, my email marketing needs a little bit of work. So I got myself an email marketing mentor and we worked on that. So it's every single stage. But once you're really clear on what is it that you want to do, why do you want to do that? And then, what do you need? What's the mindset, skill set, and tool set that you need at that stage?
I think that's huge what you said. So let's kind of walk backwards here. You talked about different coaches for different points of your journey, right? And I think a lot of people look at a coach and go, well, that's going to be my coach forever. And that's just not how it is. Like Cory and I, we've had different coaches based on where we were and on our path and our journey, but we felt we had to pick those coaches kind of in that order or it wouldn't have made sense for us. So I think that's important. But the other piece, we searched out very much like you, who are the experts that we know, we like, and we trust, right? That can help us do what they've done and are willing to share that knowledge as a coach, right? So those pieces are huge. And I think it's invaluable that, you talked about it, because I think so many people, when they look at coaches, they're like, well, I don't know if they're going to be my long-term coach. Well, they're probably not going to. Newsflash, because you grow, they grow, and they probably don't want to be your coach forever. They just want to help you for a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing is I'm totally cool. If someone wants to join the FBI and they want to hang out with me forever and ever, sure, we can hang out in 10 years and celebrate all the things. But I don't want to be your coach for that length of time because I'm not the coach of all coaches. I am this coach. This is what I teach. This is what I strategize with. Connect with me until you've outgrown me and you need something different. Absolutely. That's what I want you to do. And that's what I think that people should be looking for when they look for a coach. But also look at coaching as what you said, Ron, is they've been through it, right? So integrity is huge for me. I will only connect with someone who shows integrity in the marketplace. And because that's for me, that's my integrity. And if I make a mistake along the way, I got to own it because I don't know some things. If I look back at some of the things that I did 3 years ago, bad, real bad. But I learn and I grow. So that's what we have to do. But a coach is going to help you learn faster. They're going to give you the tools to get through that faster. So the investment in a coach is just that. It's an investment that's going to save you thousands of dollars in the future.
If only everybody would realize that. Investing in yourself, right? Find a way to invest in yourself first before a stock, right? Before any bond, before any 401k, like invest in yourself to try to grow and make more money and make more of an impact and be able to invest 4,000 hours for a cause that means something and to you and to others. And anyway, love it. All this stuff. All right. So my last question for you is, if you were to anybody listening today, what's the very, very one thing, maybe two if you got, that they should go do to figure out how they can get that clarity on their vision and that clarity on their time worth or time value? Like what's something that they could do to just go get that today?
So that's such a hard question to answer with something that's super simple, because for everybody it's going to be different. And that's the thing, not that it's complicated. It's just going to be different for everybody. And so through my Freedom Boss Institute, the first couple of weeks is all about clarity. And I make it a point to actually say this to them when they get started is, all right, I know you came here for strategy. You wanted to learn how to create an offer that convert because you want to learn how to make money. We're not going to do that until you get through this. And the reason is because I did not do that in the beginning of my journey. And that was where that 6 months was wasted. Not only 6 months of my time that I could never get back, but that's 6 months of income that I never made, and it put me behind. Right. So we look at that. It was holding me back from creating that freedom lifestyle. So it's asking yourself and being honest with yourself when you ask yourself, what do you want? Okay, so I want to make 6 figures a year. I want to make 100 grand in my business because that's going to take all my problems away. The answer is no, that's not what it's going to do. Once you get there, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with your 6 figures? You know, there's a lot of people that'll say things like, Ron, it's like, I wanted time freedom because I always felt strapped. But people aren't going to change their habits if they don't know what they're going to do with the extra time. So if I can give you an extra 5 hours a week, what are you going to do with it? There would be people who will sit down and say, well, I'll go and spend more time with my family, but they don't actually end up doing that because they haven't created this plan or this vision for themselves as to what's going to be different. So the long answer to that would be to find a coach that's going to help you work through that and work through it faster. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels and not really going anywhere. You can buy all the planners that are out there in the world. Trust me, I've done that. You can buy all the action. You can listen to all the podcasts about productivity and all the stuff you can do to save extra time or make extra time or manage your time. And it's all a myth. You can't do it. It has to start from within you and changing some habits. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but if you change one little habit, I would just say if you pick up a book, one of the transformational books for me that I read was The Slight Edge. And it's all about a tiny little change. So what's a tiny little change that you could do today that will change your life tomorrow? And then build on each of those. And then the next stage I call as habit stacking. So for example, you want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. So what's the first habit you want to do? Okay. Well, if I get up in the morning and go for a walk around the block, that's going to help me lose my 10 pounds. Okay. So how do we do that? Right. Okay. Well, if I put my workout clothes out there in the morning and set my alarm early, then I could do it. Okay. Now what's the next step? And that's all you do is you stack your little offers out, your habits up that way. And that shifts your entire life in that one pathway. But the same thing's going to happen when you're growing out your business and you want to know what it is that you want to do next, and to find that clarity. What I wanted 3 years ago is not what I want this year, and understand that it has to be moldable too. And that was the thing I had to learn myself.
Gosh, so many golden nuggets. It reminds me of a story that I don't remember who told me this story, but a guy wanted to be buried with $1 million. And he made his wife promise to bury him with $1 million because he had $1 million. And she promised. He passed away, and she wrote him a check for $1 million and buried him. Right? Same concept. You can't take it with you. So
yeah,
use your time wisely. But I love the idea of habit stacking, and I'm bad at that. So, but I want to be good at it. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want or heard something today that they're like, oh my gosh, I want to join the FBI. Where can they go? How can they get in touch with you? Where can they find Dr. Cory at?
The best place is I have a free group that's on Facebook. So it's a Facebook group. And I can give you guys the link if you want to drop that in later. But that's where I'm in there all the time, answering questions, connecting with people, and supporting them that way.
Sounds great. We'll add it to the show notes for sure.
Yes, and I can attest. I'm in the group. I see you in there all the time, so keep it up. But Cory, it's been an absolute blast, and it's so fun to hear these similar journeys of someone like yourself. That Ron and I, we were in the restaurant industry, not the healthcare, but it's still the growing the corporate ladder and finding out that there's nothing there. So, there's no freedom there. There's no time there. You're just another person, on just another number. Right. And so I love hearing folks that have been able to figure things out for themselves to make an impact for others. And thank you so much for sharing this journey with us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Ron, I think we had a lot of gold nuggets there. I don't know. What do you got for us today? Because if you don't have any, I got plenty. I have plenty right here I can share.
I got a couple, but I cheated today because I snuck a couple in before we ended the episode.
All right. Well, let's share. Let's see if you got anything good.
All right. So one, value your time. Value your time. And I loved her calculator, but understand your superpower comes easy to you because it's a superpower of yours, right? So understand the value of that. Don't just assume other people can do what you do because it's easy for you, right? And this is something that, we've talked about that. We've talked about this with other people, but the value of your time is vital for you to take the next steps of what you want to do and where you want to go. So I think that's the first one, but I love the calculator piece. And then the other one, this was painful, like the cost of that value of time. So it's the same thing, but it's the opposite, right? So if you sit there and you have a cup of coffee and you do nothing for an hour, how much money did you just waste, right? That was painful. I was like, oh, yikes.
How many hours have we wasted on Starbucks?
maybe two. Maybe 200. Too many.
Yeah, definitely. That was painful. But, I had one that's really sticking with me. And that is the gaining the clear vision, right? Like all of us can spin our wheels until we have the clear vision, we're never really going to truly go far. Right. And so at the end there, Dr. Cory was saying, you can go buy all the planners. You could go buy all the stuff to do it yourself. Right. And you might eventually get there. It might take you 6 months or years or 10 years or never. But if you go and invest in yourself, a coach, then you're investing them to speed up time. Right. And at the end of the day, if we all want the freedom, if we all want to be freedom bosses, then we need to find a way to speed up time. So that really stuck with me. I love it. I'll probably steal that. Sorry, Dr. Cory. And at the end of the day, for anybody that's out there, head on over to our Facebook group. We can catch all these lives. Plus, we got a lot more fun things to do at facebook.com/groups/now22.
Hey, guys, and thank you for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers community.